I was lost in thought. The alien woman turned to me and smiled. "So you like my body," she said. Captain Elias Tran stood at the edge of the forest, his boots sinking slightly into the soft, moss-covered ground. The air was thick with the scent of unknown flowers and minerals, and the sky above shimmered with hues he had never seen on Earth. He had been trained to stay focused, to follow every protocol when exploring new planets, but for the last few minutes, he had been lost in thought. He wondered about the galaxy, about humanity, about how small Earth seemed now that he was so far from it. The stars stretched endlessly in every direction, brilliant points of light, yet he felt no fear, only a strange, calming awareness of how tiny and fragile humans were, and how remarkable it was that they had managed to explore even this far. Elias shook his head, trying to push away the drifting thoughts. "Focus, Tran," he muttered to himself. He was here on a mission for the United Earth Space Agency. The planet was uncharted. Official reports had labeled it Class Zeta, which meant it was safe enough for human landing but strange enough to expect surprises. And now, standing in this alien forest, Elias realized the meaning of that label. Everything around him seemed alive in ways he could not explain. Trees bent toward him as if observing his every movement. Plants emitted soft glows from their veins, pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. Tiny creatures, some floating in the air, some scuttling across the ground, watched him with curiosity. He had read about planets with bioluminescent flora, but nothing in his training had prepared him for the depth of this world's beauty. As he continued walking, Elias tried to record his observations. "Forest canopy density, 93%, he said into his wrist communicator. "Species unknown behavior, seemingly non-aggressive. Luminescent vegetation, possible energy source. Atmosphere, breathable with slightly higher oxygen concentration than Earth standard." But his words felt empty. The forest around him was alive, but it was not something that could be captured in numbers or words. Elias felt it pressing against him in a way he could not fully understand. And then, unexpectedly, he noticed movement ahead, something tall, graceful, and distinctly humanoid. Elias froze. His pulse quickened, but not with fear, with curiosity. His eyes adjusted, and he could make out the figure more clearly. The being had a human-like shape, but taller, leaner, with skin that shimmered faintly in shades of blue and silver. Its eyes were large and expressive, reflecting the soft light of the glowing plants. Long hair, iridescent like the sky at sunset, framed a face both alien and strangely familiar. The alien being tilted her head slightly, as if examining him, and then, with the gentlest of movements, she stepped closer. Elias swallowed hard, unsure whether he should speak or remain still. He had been trained for first contact situations, but nothing in the training manuals could prepare a person for the feeling of being observed by an intelligent alien life form. "Hello," she said, her voice melodic and clear, yet unlike any human voice he had heard. It resonated softly in the forest, blending with the hum of the bioluminescent plants. Elias coughed lightly. Hello," he replied, trying to sound calm. "I'm Captain Elias Tran." "I come in peace," the alien smiled. It was a small, simple gesture, but it carried warmth and a hint of amusement. "I am Kailira," she said. "I have watched your kind from afar. Few of your species come here. You are different." Elias blinked. "Different?" he asked, unsure whether to be proud or confused. I'm just exploring scientific mission." Kailira's eyes sparkled, reflecting the light around them. "Yes," she said softly, "I see that. You are brave, curious. Unlike some others who have come, you do not bring destruction. That pleases me." Elias felt a flush of pride. Despite the strangeness of the encounter, her words made him feel that humanity had a place in this vast, mysterious galaxy. And yet, he remained cautious. "Your people, you live here, all over this planet?" he asked. Kailira gestured gracefully toward the forest. "We live with it, not over it," she said. "Every tree, every creature, every light, it is part of us, and we are part of it. You human are separate, yes, but that can change." Elias nodded, unsure what to say. He had studied alien cultures in the academy, read countless reports and history logs, but nothing compared to experiencing one firsthand. Kailira's presence was more than impressive, it was humbling. She moved with an elegance that seemed effortless, and yet every step carried weight, meaning, and purpose. They walked together for a while. Elias followed Kailira as she led him through the forest, showing him glowing plants that reacted to touch, streams of water that seemed to hum with energy, and crystalline formations that refracted light into soft rainbows. All the while, Kalira spoke of her world, of balance, of harmony, of understanding life as a web of connections rather than separate entities. "Your kind is remarkable," Kalira said after a while. "You are fragile, small, but you survive. You adapt, you build. You fight sometimes, and yet you also create beauty. I can see this in you, human." Elias felt a warmth spread through him. It was one thing to hear his professors speak of humanity's achievements, another to hear them praised by an alien who had lived far longer than any human. He wanted to ask more, but words felt inadequate. Instead, he continued walking, letting Kalira guide him. After a time, they reached a clearing. The ground dipped slightly, and in the center lay a pool of water that glowed faintly from beneath, as though the liquid itself contained stars. Kalira paused at the edge, turning to Elias. "Look closely," she said. "See what is hidden in what seems simple." Elias knelt, peering into the pool. Tiny lights drifted within it, moving in patterns he could not comprehend. They resembled living constellations, each one pulsing gently as if breathing. Elias felt a thrill of wonder and excitement. "It's beautiful," he whispered. Kalira smiled. "Yes, beauty is everywhere if you know where to look. You must learn patience, human. You are fast, restless, eager to act. But sometimes understanding comes from observing, from thinking, from being lost in thought." Elias chuckled quietly. "I seem to be very good at that," he said, glancing up at her. "Though I hope I haven't wasted your time." "You have not," Kalira replied. "Time is not as precious here. You human measure it differently. You rush, you hurry, you fear missing something. Yet here even lost thought has meaning. You are learning something important already." For a moment they sat in silence, watching the tiny lights swirl within the pool. Elias felt a rare peace, a calm he had not known since leaving Earth. He realized that this encounter was not merely about exploration or science. It was about understanding, about connection. Kalira was not just showing him her world, she was showing him how to see it. Finally, Kalira spoke again. "Do you feel it, human? The sense that you are part of something larger?" Elias nodded slowly. "I think I do," he said. "I've never felt anything like this." "Good," Kalira said softly. "That is the first step. Curiosity brought you here. Thought will guide you forward. And perhaps, one day, your kind will join us fully, not as visitors, but as partners." Elias sat back, letting the weight of her words sink in. Humanity had always wondered if it would be alone in the universe. Now, looking at Kalira, at her world, at the shimmering pool of living stars, he felt the possibility of something greater, a connection, a purpose, and a challenge. Humans were small, fragile, and flawed, yet capable of so much more than they realized. And as Kalira turned and smiled at him once more, Elias understood that his journey was only beginning. The galaxy was vast, mysterious, and sometimes dangerous, but it was also full of wonder. And for the first time he felt that humanity could truly rise to meet it. The sun, or whatever star illuminated this world, was dipping toward the horizon, casting long shadows and golden light over the forest. Elias rose to his feet, ready to follow Kalira wherever she would lead him next. He knew that today he had not only discovered a new world, he had discovered a new way of seeing. And somewhere deep inside, a quiet spark of pride and hope began to grow, a spark that would guide him, and perhaps all of humanity, toward something greater than he had ever imagined. The morning light filtered through the alien forest, turning every leaf into a prism of colors. Elias had never imagined. He awoke to the soft hum of the forest, a sound that seemed alive, almost like it was breathing. Beside him, Kalira stood silently, watching the subtle movements of the glowing plants. She turned to him and smiled, a small, patient smile that made him feel welcome in this strange world. "Good morning, human," Kalira said. "Today I will show you more of our world. You will see how we live, how we think, and how we survive. You may find it different from your own." Elias nodded, trying to mask his nervous excitement. "I'm ready. I want to learn everything I can." Kalira gestured to a path barely visible among the trees. "Then follow me, but remember here seeing is only the first step. Understanding comes from noticing what others overlook." As they walked, Elias felt the forest shifting around them. The ground seemed to respond to their steps, sending ripples of light through the moss. Trees bent slightly, as if acknowledging their presence. Birds, or creatures resembling birds, glided silently through the glowing canopy, leaving trails of faint starlight behind them. "This place, it feels alive," Elias said softly. Not just with creatures, but with energy, everything seems connected. Kalira nodded. Yes. Life here is a network. Every plant, every animal, every being linked. We understand the world by observing it, by listening to its signals. Your people you take and use, but sometimes forget to see the pattern. Humans can learn from this. Elias considered her words. He had been trained to study alien ecosystems, but Kalira's philosophy was different. It was not about control or dominance. It was about respect, patience, and understanding. Already, he felt his mind opening in ways it had never before. After a long walk, they arrived at a clearing where a small village stood. The buildings were elegant and curved, made from materials that glimmered like glass but felt warm and soft to the touch. Paths of smooth crystal led between homes, and in the center of the village, a large, circular pool reflected the sky, even though no clouds were present. "This is our home," Kalira said. "Everything here grows with us. Nothing is wasted, nothing is harmed unnecessarily. We take only what we need and we give back in return." Elias stepped closer, examining the architecture. "It's beautiful. It doesn't feel artificial, yet it is structured. How do you create this without harming the forest?" Kalira's eyes sparkled. "Harmony. Technology is not just tools. It is understanding energy, understanding life. We design in balance, not in opposition. Your species is strong, human, but often you struggle to live with what you do not control." As they entered the village, Kalira introduced Elias to the residents. Each being he met was unique, yet shared the same graceful features as Kalira. They greeted him with nods, smiles, and soft tones that conveyed curiosity rather than fear. Some of them showed him how their homes were maintained, how water and energy circulated through natural conduits, and how every building seemed alive, adjusting to weather, light, and even mood. Elias was amazed. This is beyond anything we have on Earth. It's not just advanced technology, it's alive." Kalira laughed softly. "You see it clearly? Yes, we call it living design. Humans could do the same if they chose to observe and respect life rather than dominate it." For the rest of the morning, Elias explored the village under Kalira's guidance. They visited gardens filled with glowing fruits, whose flavors were impossible to describe. Some emitted soft melodies when touched, harmonizing with the natural hum of the forest. Elias realized that everything here appealed to multiple senses at once, not just sight or sound, but feeling, intuition, and even thought. "You see," Kalira said, "our world is a teacher. Every action, every thought, every choice carries consequence. Humans often overlook this. You rush, you hurry, and sometimes you forget that the smallest decisions create ripples." Elias nodded. He understood her meaning, but also felt a quiet pride. Humans might be impulsive, sometimes reckless, but they were adaptable. He thought about the challenges Earth had overcome, the natural disasters, the wars, the hunger for knowledge, and realized that Kalira was right. Humans had flaws, but those flaws were part of what made them resilient. After lunch, which consisted of fruits that glimmered with soft colors and water that tasted like sweet minerals, Kalira led Elias to a large open field beyond the village. In the center stood a structure of floating crystals, arranged in complex geometric patterns. "This is where we study the stars," Kalira explained. "Not only their movement, but their energy, their patterns, and the life they support. Humans look at stars and see distance, danger, or opportunity. We see connections." Elias stepped closer, fascinated. He reached out to touch one of the floating crystals. It reacted instantly, glowing brighter and sending a pulse through the air. Images formed inside the crystal, galaxies spiraling, nebulae expanding, and planets alive with life. "Your species has potential, human," Kalira said. "You look at a problem and you adapt, you create, you invent. You are not the strongest in body, but your mind can rival anything in this galaxy." Elias felt a surge of pride. Here was an alien species, far older and more advanced than humans, yet Kalira was praising his people. "Thank you," he said quietly. I hope we can live up to that potential." Kalira tilted her head. "Potential is only the beginning. Action, choice, understanding, that is what makes potential real. Your species is at a crossroads. You can rise or you can fall. I have seen both paths." For the next few hours, Kalira taught Elias the basics of their culture. How to read energy patterns in plants, how to interpret the hum of the forest to predict weather changes, and how to move without disturbing the natural balance. Elias tried to mimic her movements, sometimes stumbling, sometimes succeeding, but always learning. As the day drew to a close, Kalira led Elias to a cliff overlooking a valley. From there, the forest stretched as far as the eye could see, glowing softly in the twilight. Streams of energy light ran like rivers through the trees, and distant creatures moved like shadows, leaving trails of color behind them. "Do you see it, human?" Kalira asked. "Do you understand even a fraction of what this world is?" Elias took a deep breath. "I think I'm beginning to," he said. "It's alive, every part of it, everything connected. It makes our problems on Earth seem small in comparison." Kalira nodded. "And yet your problems shape you. Your species has something special. You may be small, but your curiosity, your courage, your desire to understand, it makes you strong. Do not forget that." Elias looked at her, feeling a strange mix of respect and awe. "I won't. I think I understand a little better why humans can matter even among the stars." Kalira smiled, a soft, approving expression. "Good, that is the first lesson. The rest will come with time. You must learn patience, observe, think, and act when the moment requires it. Only then will you understand true strength." The sun, or whatever illuminated this alien world, dipped below the horizon, casting long, soft shadows across the valley. Elias felt tired but exhilarated. He had learned so much in a single day, and yet he knew he had barely scratched the surface. Kalira's world was vast, complex, and filled with knowledge humans could scarcely imagine. As they descended back into the village, Elias realized that the journey was no longer just about exploration. It was about understanding. About learning how to connect, how to see, how to think beyond the limits he had always known. Kalira was not merely a guide. She was a teacher, a mirror, and perhaps a friend. That night, as Elias lay beneath the glowing canopy, he thought of Earth. Of his family, his friends, his team. He felt a surge of hope. Humanity was small and fragile, yes, but it was curious, inventive, and capable of greatness. Perhaps, with guidance and courage, they could rise to meet the challenges of the galaxy. Kalira's words echoed in his mind. Action, choice, understanding, that is what makes potential real. And Elias knew that tomorrow would bring more lessons, more discoveries, and more opportunities to prove that humans were capable of remarkable things, even among the stars. For the first time since leaving Earth, he felt that humanity was not just surviving. They could thrive. The sun rose slowly over the alien forest, painting the landscape in soft shades of lavender and gold. Elias Tran awoke to the familiar hum of life around him. The glowing plants, the gentle pulse of energy in the air, and the soft movement of unseen creatures in the trees. Today, Kalira had promised to take him further beyond the village, to see parts of her world that very few outsiders had ever witnessed. "You are ready for the next lesson," Kalira said as she appeared beside him. Her movements were smooth and deliberate, each step almost floating above the ground. "But be warned, human, the path ahead will test more than your mind. It will test your courage and your choices." Elias felt a thrill run through him. He had expected lessons, knowledge, and observation, but Kalira spoke of challenges. The human part of him, trained for exploration and survival, surged with excitement. "I'm ready," he said, though his heart beat faster. "I want to understand, and I want to see everything." Kalira nodded. "Then we begin." They walked together through the forest, the trees growing taller and more ancient as they moved deeper. The air shimmered with energy, and Elias could feel it pressing gently against his skin, almost as if the forest itself were aware of his presence. Strange creatures peeked from behind vines and branches, curious but cautious. Elias noticed that unlike Earth's animals, these beings did not flee. They observed, waited, and adapted, much like humans might in a city, but with far greater patience and awareness. "Observe them," Kalira said softly. "Notice how they react to your presence. What do they reveal about the forest? What can you learn from their behavior?" Elias studied the creatures. Small, luminescent insects flew in precise formations, adjusting to the flow of energy around them. Larger bird-like beings moved in synchrony with the trees, landing only when the wind calmed. Elias realized that every living thing was part of a complex network, communicating silently through energy and movement. Humans might not be able to sense it directly, but he could see patterns, and that gave him understanding. "This forest, it's like a giant organism," he murmured. "Everything is connected." Kalira smiled. "Yes, and just as the forest adapts, so must you. Humans survive because you adapt, not because you are the strongest. That is why I brought you here. I wish to see how your species' strengths might work in harmony with the world. They reached a narrow path bordered by towering crystal formations. The path sloped sharply, and Elias had to steady himself as Kalira moved gracefully ahead. At the end of the path, the forest opened into a vast valley. Elias could hardly believe his eyes. Below them lay a network of rivers glowing with soft green light, winding around massive stone spires that seemed to rise naturally from the ground. In the distance, buildings floated above the water, connected by delicate bridges made of translucent energy. He could see creatures moving along the rivers, some swimming, some flying, all perfectly in sync with the environment. "This is the Valley of Streams," Kalira said. "Few outsiders see it. It is a place of learning and growth, but it can be dangerous if approached carelessly." Elias stepped forward carefully, his mind racing. "Dangerous? How?" Kalira pointed to the rivers below. "The energy here is strong. It can overwhelm an untrained mind or body. Those who do not respect it may be swept away, or worse, trapped in patterns they cannot understand." Elias felt a chill, but excitement quickly replaced it. "Then I will be careful. I have to learn. I want to understand this world, and I want to prove that humans can adapt." Kalira studied him for a moment, her large, glowing eyes examining his face. "Courage is admirable," she said finally, "but remember, human courage alone is not enough. Observation, patience, and action in harmony are equally important. You must balance them, or you will fail." They began descending the slope toward the valley. Kalira moved with ease, while Elias used every skill he had learned in his training. He focused on each step, on the way the energy pulsed through the rocks, and on the subtle movements of creatures around him. He realized that every obstacle could be read, studied, and navigated if he paid attention. Suddenly, a low hum filled the air, vibrating through Elias' chest. The water in the rivers began to glow brighter, and the crystal spires shivered with energy. A massive creature emerged from the river, a leviathan-like being with translucent fins and shimmering scales. It moved gracefully through the water, eyes fixed on Elias. Elias froze, unsure whether it meant to attack or observe. Kalira stepped forward calmly. "Do not be afraid," she said. "It will not harm you unless you harm it. Remember, all life here is connected. Show respect and you will be safe." Elias took a deep breath and slowly raised his hands. "I mean no harm," he said aloud, though he was not sure if the creature understood human words. He focused on projecting calm, awareness, and respect. The Leviathan paused, studying him. Its glowing eyes seemed to measure his intent. After a tense moment, it submerged again, leaving only ripples across the river. Elias exhaled, feeling a mix of relief and exhilaration. Kalira smiled, a faint glow around her features. "You see, courage is important, but it must be paired with understanding. You passed this test. Humans have a gift for combining thought and action. That is why I believe your species can thrive." Elias nodded, feeling a rush of pride. "Thank you, Kalira. I think I understand more every day." They spent the afternoon exploring the valley. Elias learned how to read the energy in plants to predict environmental changes, how to sense subtle shifts in the river currents, and even how to communicate with smaller creatures using simple energy pulses. Each lesson was both challenging and rewarding. At one point, Kalira stopped and pointed to a set of floating platforms across the river. "Cross that carefully," she said. "Each platform reacts to weight, movement, and intention. Only those who focus fully can reach the other side without disturbance." Elias stepped forward, feeling the weight of the challenge. He balanced carefully, sensing the subtle vibrations in the platforms. He remembered Kalira's earlier lessons: observe, respect, act. Slowly, step by step, he made it across. When he reached the far side, he turned and saw Kalira's approving smile. "Well done," she said. "Your species often doubts itself, yet here you demonstrate focus, creativity, and balance. This is why I have hope for humanity." The day began to fade, and Kalira led Elias to a clearing where the river widened into a small lake. The water reflected the stars above, though Elias knew that in this part of the galaxy, the night sky was different from Earth's. He sat by the edge, watching the glow of the water, feeling a calm he had never experienced before. "You are learning well," Kalira said, sitting beside him. "But the greatest lesson is not knowledge or skill. It is connection. You must see yourself as part of something larger. The forest, the creatures, the rivers, they are all connected. And you human are connected as well. Your species is small, but it is capable of understanding, of working with the universe, not just in it." Elias nodded slowly. I think I'm beginning to understand. Humans can survive, yes, but we can also grow, learn, improve, maybe even inspire. Kalira's eyes softened. Exactly, that is why I brought you here, to see not only my world but your potential. You are clever, curious, adaptable. You are human, and that is remarkable. For a long time, they sat in silence, listening to the gentle hum of the lake, watching the soft glow of the energy in the forest. Elias felt a sense of pride mixed with humility. Humanity had survived for millennia on a fragile world, overcoming challenges that might have destroyed weaker species. And yet he realized the galaxy offered even greater challenges and opportunities. Kalira finally stood, stretching her arms gracefully. Tomorrow we will face a different challenge, something that will test your skills, your mind, and your courage in ways you have not yet imagined. Are you ready? Elias stood as well, determination shining in his eyes. I am. I want to prove that humans can rise to any challenge, no matter how strange or difficult. Kalira smiled, a soft, approving glow illuminating her features. Good, that is the spirit that makes your species extraordinary. Remember, human, courage, observation, and understanding must always work together. Alone, none is enough. Together, they create true strength. As Elias settled into his resting place that night, he thought of Earth and the countless humans who had paved the way for exploration. He thought of his crew, his family, and every person who had ever dared to dream beyond their world. And he realized something profound. Humanity was fragile, yes, but it was also remarkable. Tomorrow would bring new tests, new discoveries, and new opportunities to prove that humans were more than capable of surviving among the stars. Elias closed his eyes, ready to face whatever came next. And somewhere in the forest, Kalira watched over him, confident that this human, small, curious, adaptable, was only the beginning of something far greater. The next morning, Elias awoke to a strange tension in the air. The forest, which had always pulsed softly with energy, now thrummed with a restless rhythm, almost like the heartbeat of something vast and unseen. Even the glowing plants seemed sharper in color, more alert, as if they sensed a disturbance. Kalira appeared beside him, her expression serious. Today, human, you will face a test unlike any before. Not of knowledge, but of action. The valley, your lessons there, will be challenged. You must remain calm, think clearly, and act with both courage and care. Elias' stomach tightened. What kind of test? He asked, his voice steady but laced with concern. Kalira gestured toward the distant mountains. The energy storms, they come without warning. They test all who live here. They are not enemies, but forces of nature. Even we, the residents, must act carefully. Today you will see one close. You will help us respond. Elias swallowed hard but nodded. I'm ready. I'll do my best. They began the journey to the valley once more. As they walked, Kalira explained the nature of the energy storms. They were massive fluctuations of natural energy, capable of disrupting both life and technology if not managed carefully. In the past, entire villages had been damaged when storms were misjudged. You must remember, Kalira said, your human mind works differently from ours. You do not feel energy as we do, but you can analyze, invent, and adapt. That is why you are needed. By mid-morning, they reached the valley, and Elias immediately noticed the difference. The rivers pulsed erratically, their light flickering. The floating buildings swayed gently in the current of unseen forces, and creatures scurried for safety. The hum of the forest had grown into a low roar, vibrating through Elias' chest. There, Kalira said, pointing toward the river. The storm is forming. We must redirect the energy flow to protect the structures and life here. Follow my instructions carefully. Elias' heart raced. What do I do? Kalira handed him a small device, unlike anything he had seen before. This will allow you to channel energy temporarily. Observe the patterns, then respond. Use your mind, not just your strength. Timing is critical. Elias examined the device. It seemed simple, but he knew instinctively that it was sophisticated beyond human understanding. He nodded to Kalira. I'll try. The storm hit suddenly. A wave of energy swept across the valley, bright and blinding. The rivers surged violently, and the floating platforms tilted dangerously. Elias gripped the device tightly, focusing as Kalira had instructed. He studied the patterns in the energy, noticing how the currents moved, shifted, and collided. Now, human, Kalira called, act. Elias raised the device and pressed it forward. A beam of energy shot out, connecting with the river currents. He adjusted the angle, then the intensity, following the chaotic patterns with his eyes and mind. It was like nothing he had ever experienced. The currents responded to him, reacting to each subtle movement, each small decision. The storm raged, but Elias worked with it, not against it. His human ingenuity, the ability to think quickly, improvise, and combine observation with action, allowed him to redirect the energy safely. Slowly, the rivers stabilized, the floating platforms stopped swaying, and the creatures cautiously returned to their normal paths. Kalira's eyes shone with approval. Excellent, you see? Courage alone would not have been enough. Observation, adaptation, and careful action, you used them together, that is true strength. Elias exhaled, feeling a mix of relief and exhilaration. It worked. The valley is safe, Kalira nodded. Yes, and in this, human, you have shown why your species is remarkable. You are not the strongest, nor the fastest. Yet when the mind, the heart, and the hands work in unison, you can achieve greatness. The storm subsided, leaving the valley glowing softly once more. Elias looked around at the creatures, the buildings, the rivers, all alive and intact. He felt an immense sense of pride, not just for himself, but for humanity. Humans were fragile, yes, but they were clever, adaptable, and resilient. Kalira led him to a high platform overlooking the valley. From this vantage point, Elias could see the full effect of the storm. Energy streams had shifted, glowing bridges glimmered steadily, and the river currents moved with a gentle, predictable rhythm. Observe the patterns now, Kalira said. You see how nature, technology, and life coexist here. When one is disturbed, all are affected, but your actions corrected the imbalance. You did not fight the storm, you worked with it. That is wisdom. Elias leaned against the railing, catching his breath. It's incredible. I never thought humans could handle something like this, not so quickly, not with so little experience. Kalira smiled softly. You underestimate your species. Humans survive because you can think under pressure, make decisions, and adapt. You may not be the largest, the fastest, or the strongest, but you are capable of feats that others cannot achieve. This is why I have hope for your people. They descended from the platform and walked through the valley. Elias noticed the creatures resuming their routines, the floating buildings stabilizing, and the plants glowing softly once more. The storm had tested everyone, yet the valley had survived, and it was because of human ingenuity combined with Kalira's guidance. You have learned much today, Kalira said. But remember, human, the greatest lessons often come from mistakes. Observation and patience are vital. Courage without thought can destroy. Understanding without action is useless. You balanced them all today. Elias nodded, feeling the weight of her words. I'll remember. I think I'm starting to see how humans can thrive, not just survive, maybe even help others do the same. Kalira studied him, her eyes reflecting the fading light. Yes, that is why I brought you here, to see not only my world but your potential. You are clever, curious, adaptable. You are human, and that is remarkable. As evening fell, the valley glowed in the soft twilight. Elias and Kalira walked back toward the village, the hum of life returning to its usual rhythm. Elias reflected on the day's events. Humans had always been underestimated, yet in the face of the storm, he had realized that their greatest strength lay in thought, adaptability, and courage. When they reached the village, Kalira gestured to a central pavilion. Rest now, human. Tomorrow you will see another test, not of strength, not of courage, but of understanding. You will be challenged to think not only for yourself, but for your species. Are you ready? Elias felt a surge of determination. I am. Whatever comes, I want to show that humans can rise to the challenge, no matter what it is. Kalira's smile was quiet but approving. Good. Remember, human, your species is fragile, yes, but it is clever, resilient, and capable of great achievements. Today you proved that. Tomorrow we will see how far your potential can reach. That night, Elias lay beneath the glowing canopy of the forest, thinking about the day's events. The storm had tested his courage, his focus, and his mind, and he had survived. He realized something profound. Humanity was not only capable of surviving in the universe, but it was capable of shaping it. Humans could observe, adapt, and innovate in ways that even advanced species like Kalira's admired. And as Elias drifted to sleep, he felt a quiet pride. He had faced the storm and succeeded. He had proven not only to Kalira, but to himself that humans were more than fragile, more than limited. They were capable of greatness. Somewhere in the forest, Kalira watched over him, confident that this human, small and curious, had only begun to discover the full extent of his species' potential. And somewhere deep within him, Elias felt the spark of something larger, a vision of humanity rising, not just surviving but thriving among the stars. The galaxy was vast, unpredictable, and full of challenges, but humans had the mind, the courage, and the heart to meet it. And Elias knew that the next test, whatever it might be, would push him and his species even further. The morning light broke softly over the alien forest, and Elias Tran felt a mixture of excitement and anticipation. Today was the day Kailira had promised would test not only his courage and ingenuity, but also his understanding of humanity's place in the galaxy. The energy in the air was calm now, yet Elias could feel its potential, powerful, patient, waiting. Kailira approached, her eyes reflecting the soft light. Human, today you will face the final challenge, not of skill alone, not of bravery, but of insight. You will need to think beyond yourself, beyond your species, and consider how humans can contribute to the wider galaxy. Elias nodded. I understand, I'm ready. She gestured to a large open clearing ahead. The ground was smooth and glowing faintly, with streams of energy forming patterns that shifted like constellations. Floating platforms hovered above the clearing, and in the center a crystal sphere rotated slowly, reflecting light in every direction. This is the Hall of Patterns, Kailira explained. Here we learn how all life, energy, and intelligence connect. Today you will see how humans can work with the universe itself. You must analyze the patterns, predict the flow, and guide it toward harmony. Are you prepared to think beyond yourself? Elias took a deep breath. Yes, I will do my best, Kailira nodded. Then begin. The challenge started immediately. Streams of energy pulsed unpredictably across the clearing, moving in waves that shifted with astonishing speed. The floating platforms tilted and swayed. The crystal sphere emitted flashes of light that seemed to signal changes in the pattern. Elias realized quickly that this was not just a test of observation or speed. It required strategy, focus, and imagination. He studied the patterns carefully, recalling Kailira's lessons. Observe, adapt, act, he muttered to himself. Slowly, he moved across the platforms, each step deliberate, careful. He extended the device Kailira had given him during the storm, letting it channel his thoughts into the energy streams. The streams responded to him, pulsing with his focus and shifting with his decisions. Elias adjusted constantly, sometimes stepping back to see the whole pattern, other times leaning forward to guide a stream that threatened to destabilize the sphere. He felt sweat on his brow, but he refused to panic. Kailira watched silently, her expression calm. Focus on connection, human, not just on action, but on understanding. The universe moves in harmony. Humans can match it if they combine thought, insight, and courage. Hours passed, or perhaps only minutes, Elias could not tell. Time seemed to stretch in the Hall of Patterns. His mind raced, analyzing the shifting energy, predicting its flow, and coordinating his movements with precision. Each success brought a small sense of triumph, but he knew the final test was still ahead. Finally, a large surge of energy threatened the crystal sphere. The streams moved chaotically, colliding in ways that could shatter the delicate balance. Elias realized that if he hesitated, the entire pattern could collapse. He took a deep breath, focusing every thought, every instinct, every memory of human ingenuity and creativity. He acted decisively, the streams bent to his guidance, the platform stabilized, the crystal sphere rotated smoothly, its light calm and steady once more. Elias stepped back, exhausted but exhilarated. He had done it. Kailira approached, her glowing eyes shining with approval. Well done, human. You have not only survived but excelled. You have demonstrated observation, courage, insight, and action. You have worked with the universe, not against it. Elias exhaled, feeling a rush of pride. I didn't expect it to be so complex, but I understand now. Humans can adapt, learn, and think in ways even advanced species might not anticipate. We may be small, but we can rise. Kailira smiled. Yes, and that is why your species is remarkable. Fragile, yes. Limited, yes. But capable of insight, creativity, and understanding on a level few others can achieve. Today, you have proven that humans can contribute to the harmony of life and energy in ways that are unexpected, yet essential. She gestured to the valley and the village beyond. Your people will be welcomed. If humanity chooses, it can join with my species in partnership, sharing knowledge, ideas, and guidance. But first, your species must choose to believe in itself. Elias nodded slowly. He thought of Earth, of the people he loved, of the explorers and scientists who had paved the way. He realized that humanity had always been underestimated, yet time and again, humans had faced impossible challenges and risen above them. This test in the Hall of Patterns was simply another step in proving that humans could thrive anywhere. "You believe in us?" Elias asked. Kalira's expression softened. "I do. Humans are unpredictable, yes, but resilient. You think, adapt, and act. You learn from mistakes and innovate in ways few others can. That is why I brought you here, not to test humanity alone, but to show you your potential." Elias felt a wave of gratitude and inspiration. "I will take this knowledge back. I will show my people what humans can do. We may be small, but we can rise to meet the universe." Kalira nodded. "Good. That is all any species can hope for, to recognize its own potential and act upon it. Today, human, you have not only proven yourself, but also represented your people with honor and courage. Your journey has just begun, but your place in the galaxy has already changed." They walked back toward the village in silence, the glow of the forest soft around them. Elias reflected on everything he had learned, the lessons of observation, patience, courage, and understanding. He realized that humanity's true strength lay not in brute force or numbers, but in creativity, adaptability, and the ability to act wisely under pressure. When they reached the village, Kalira gathered the other residents. Elias stepped forward, unsure of what to expect. The beings observed him, their large, expressive eyes watching carefully. "Friends," Kalira began, "this human has shown the qualities that make his species remarkable: courage, insight, and the ability to adapt. He has guided energy, solved patterns, and worked in harmony with the forces of life itself. Humanity is small, yes, but capable of great things." The residents nodded, some with gentle smiles, some with curious expressions. Elias felt a profound sense of accomplishment. Here in this alien world, his people were respected, not for strength or dominance, but for intelligence, adaptability, and courage. Kalira turned to Elias. "You may return to your world now. Take what you have learned, share it, and show humanity what it can achieve. And remember, humans are capable of greatness if only they believe in themselves and act with thought, courage, and understanding." Elias bowed his head respectfully. "I will. I promise. Thank you for everything." Before he departed, Kalira handed him a small crystal glowing softly. "A gift, human, to remind you of your potential and the lessons you have learned. Let it guide your thoughts and actions. When humanity acts with courage, insight, and understanding, you can thrive, even among the stars." Elias held the crystal, feeling a warmth spread through him. It was more than a gift. It was a symbol of trust, hope, and partnership. He realized that this journey had changed him, not just as an explorer, but as a representative of humanity's potential. As he prepared to leave the alien world, Elias looked back at Kalira and the glowing forest. He felt a mixture of sadness and hope. Sadness for leaving such a remarkable place, but hope for the future, hope for humanity, and the possibilities that lay among the stars. The ship lifted from the clearing, moving smoothly into the sky. Elias watched as the forest receded, glowing softly beneath him. He held the crystal in his hand, reflecting on Kalira's words and the lessons he had learned. Humanity was small, fragile, and imperfect, but it was capable of greatness. He knew that Earth awaited him, along with countless humans who had yet to discover their potential. He also knew that the galaxy was vast, full of unknown challenges and opportunities, and he felt ready. Humans had survived, adapted, and thrived on their home world for thousands of years. Now, with knowledge, courage, and determination, they could rise to meet the universe itself. As stars streaked past the window of his ship, Elias felt a spark of pride. Humanity was not only surviving, it was capable of shaping the galaxy, of creating, learning, and inspiring. And somewhere far away, Kalira watched over the forest, confident that the humans she had observed would grow to meet the challenges of the stars. Elias leaned back in his seat, holding the crystal and thinking of Earth. The journey had begun, and humanity had proven that it could rise, not through strength alone, but through courage, insight, and action. The universe was vast and mysterious, but humans were ready. And as the ship soared into the infinite darkness of space, Elias knew that humanity's story was only beginning, and that it would be a story of hope, ingenuity, and remarkable achievement.